Back around 2018, 2019, I returned to work at San Diego Repertory Theater, which is now defunct and closed. But I was coming back to work there in the agency of a development coordinator. And what was happening at that time, there was the push to take all of the paper records, as far as paper financial records, paper donation philanthropy records, convert them all over, actually digitize all of them to make sure to upload them to our database, right? And then we were shredding or destroying that paperwork. This was an effort to have better access and quicker access to financial records. It was also an effort to avoid fire hazard by having all this paper around and just save time and space in doing the research. It was a pretty hefty project. It took us like all summer, a year to do it. We did eventually get it done. Another example to go on with what I'm going to talk about is maybe you have your phone or your computer and you're running out of space. Your computer is running slow. You're going to upload all of those files and all of those photos to the cloud. That way you clear up more space on your device. And not only will you have more space on your device, but with all that data being gone, it'll run better. Um, I give those examples because today we're going to talk about Project Panama that you might not have heard of. It is one of the biggest backup and delete programs that's happening today. Let's get into it here on Ahmed's Voice. Hey, this is Ahmed's Voice. My name is Ahmed. Thank you for hanging out. Today, I want to talk about something I found out about called Project Panama. I kind of gave you the examples in the intro of how, the process that we all know of digitizing files, deleting files, or uploading files to the cloud so we have more space and room and a better operating system on our devices, right? Well, today I want to talk about something that Anthropic is leading the way in doing it, the most notorious in doing it. Starting to come to light, you may not know about it, but let's talk about it. I think we have to be honest with ourselves in not this world that's coming, but that the world that's already here, that we are slow in understanding about what's really going on. So before I get into Project Panama, let's take a little bit of a really, really recent history lesson. You might have remembered, it might have been about a year ago, where there seemed to have been a falling out between Anthropic and the current administration of the U.S. government. And there was a thing where the government declared that Anthropic was a threat to the supply chain. Now, of course, in our current political environment, people automatically sided with Anthropic, saying that they were the good guys in this because they were not going to allow the U.S. government to have total control of their company or what they were doing with the U.S. government. And people really took this as a sign of like, oh, we finally found someone in the tech world that's going to stand up to the U.S. government. Even though Anthropic had already helped the U.S. government plan a lot of aspects in the run up to the Iran war. This was framed as if the government wanted control of Anthropic, and Anthropic was saying, no, you can't have it. And maybe there are aspects on both sides of that, right? The part that wasn't reported was that Anthropic had another language learning model called Mythos that was so powerful that it's not even really been allowed to be released. It was so powerful and so good at breaking down firewalls and security protocols that they couldn't even release it to the general public. And this is what the administration's main concern was how are we going to let this language learning model that is so powerful that it can break down almost any firewall, how are we going to let that run loose in the United States digital complex, right? Understandable. But again, due to our current climate, current political climate, right now in this very, very quick running, quick to have an opinion, moralistic environment, that really got overlooked and kind of put on the back burner. I'll give you an example. I was in the middle of a conversation with two other people, and one person was talking about how they were using their Claude agent to accomplish various tasks and projects that they were working on. The other person in the conversation had no idea what a Claude agent was. They didn't really understand what Claude was. And the explanation the other one gave was that, well, basically Claude was just like an AI like ChatGPT or Gemini that you could use and not feel bad about it, right? That's where we are these days. And those kind of things let what we're going to talk about fly under the rug. Project Panama. Project Panama came to public light because of discovery, because of a lawsuit. There was before I get into my explanation, everything I'm about to talk about, there is a great channel, YouTube channel called Upper Echelon that really goes into technology and what's going on in our world. And I really got the breakdown of this from that channel. As far as all the really technical aspects and intricacies of the lawsuits and how this came to light, I'm going to put the link to Upper Echelon's video in the description of this video or podcast, whether you're watching or listening, whatever platform you're listening or watching on. I'm going to put the link to that video so that you can get more of a deeper understanding into the real technical aspects of this. But anyway, there was a publishing company or a book company or a book, some type of book warehouse that was receiving these huge orders of books. And it was really bewildering to them of who was ordering this large amount of books. So somebody at the company put I believe, a Apple AirTag in one of the shipments to see where it went. Anyway, once they got the results of where this went, they're able to find out and trace back and actually begin a lawsuit. And in discovery, it was found out that these books were being delivered to Anthropic. And Anthropic had this program called Project Panama, where its own description was that they were destructively scanning the world's literature. So basically, in layman's terms, Anthropic, and there's other companies doing this, but Anthropic is leading the way. Anthropic is ordering mass amounts of literature to destructively scan them. The reason why it's destructively scanning them, the most efficient and fastest way to scan this is with the machines and the technology that they're using. They have to strip the spines of the books there where, therefore, the computer can scan them. And now that the books have basically been torn apart, they're destroying all that information. But it's not just because the books have been torn apart. There's a competition aspect to it. Now, I do feel that all of these different AIs, they play on our different vulnerabilities and our different desires and our different moralistic stance. But I do believe they're all the means to the same end, which is control and surveillance. I just believe that, yes, we have things that we have to use them for in our life, but I do believe that is what's going on. But the other reason for them to actively destroy is because once they are scanning, and there's other acts and legislation that allow them to be able to do this. Once they actively scan that book or all that literature and then destroy it, they now have that. That is literature that probably no one else has. And so there is a race to compile all of this information to have it digitized in these learning language models, which makes that learning language model have more information, not just what has been scraped off the internet, and what we're giving them in our interactions, but also now the world's literature. And then it's destroyed. And then where is it at? It's in that mind. It's in that intelligence. It's in that language learning model. So there is some competition there, right? And I think these are the things we really need to think about. Let's say there was some cataclysmic event, right? To where, a large part of, I don't know, we don't even have to say people die. Let's just say the information grid goes down, right? Maybe there's a massive solar flare. Maybe there is some type of nuclear war. Maybe there is some type of virus. Maybe there is something happens that breaks down the infrastructure, right? Where is the knowledge to rebuild? Where is the knowledge? Where is the collective societal knowledge going to be at? It's going to be contained in these language learning models, right? It is the ultimate upload, digitize, and destroy, right? And so therefore, who has all that knowledge has all of the control. And I just think this is something that a lot of people don't know what is happening. I think we really need to be aware of not the world we are stepping into, but the world that we are into. We are allowing ourselves to think so fast and to not really get into the meat of what's on the bone, right? We want quick answers. We want to be accepted. We don't want to work. We don't want to learn. We don't want to go through the process of understanding. But these people who run these giant tech companies, they do. they do understand the need for philosophy. They do still understand the need for wisdom. They do still understand the need to take time to understand how A plus B equals C and pattern recognition. And I think if we're looking at what's happening with Project Panama, the fact that it's been happening at such a scale and none of us knew about it, it took those with inquisitive minds to understand, to see something in a pattern that was not right, and how many, or the size, the enormity of size of these book orders. And now we have the information that Anthropic is actually leading the charge in doing this. There's a lot of proprietary technology out there with other AI companies that are doing this as well, but Anthropic is leading the way. Again, Upper Echelon is a great YouTube channel. In the description of this video, you could check out the ins and outs, the really nuts and bolts of the legislation, the lawsuit, and the technology that's happening to this. But I think it's really time that we understand the world we live in and that we stop leaning on being ignorant, because that's what we're doing right now. We think because we live in this technological age and we have people who are taking advantage of our anxieties, our fears, our identities, and we're just giving license over to these people to run our lives while claiming to be authentic and claiming to be independent. But we're not. We're just handing ourselves over to other masters. So again, you can get in the description of this video or audio podcast that you're listening to, Project Panama. I really would advise you to take the time to understand what's going on with this project, and then, move your mind and your soul and your actions and your conversations accordingly. Thanks. I'll talk to you next time. My name is Ahmed. This has been Ahmed's Voice. Talk to you soon.